Hello guys, and welcome to yet another video about the Toolkit workflow panel. This video is part of a series of videos, and if you haven't watched any of the previous videos, I suggest you go check them out first, because they give you a little bit of an introduction into what this is and what we also offer other than this panel. In this specific video, I thought I'd show you the different eye helpers and how they can help you see things that are difficult, and also how you can use them while retouching with the toolkit. Since I made very sure to have a workflow where eye helpers can be used at any stage and during retouching. So it has a couple of main reasons. One is that some things is really difficult to see. And the other is it will help you with eye fatigue, which is an actual problem. If you're staring at this exact same image for too long, then you're gonna start to get blind almost. There's some other tips and tricks I will go through as we go along. So let's get started, and I will use the more guided version of this, which means the right click of the options will put the different layers where in this type of structured manner. It does it for you. It's not necessary to do it like this. It's just quicker. And for something like this, when I want to show you a few different eye helpers, I want to do it as fast as possible. So as I said in a different video, if I right click, it will put the stuff in the correct folder. So I created a folder setup, and I'm going to also add my eye helpers on the top. I'm going to right click on healing with help because we're going to do a little bit of healing. I'm going to right click on dodge and burn with help. I'm going to right click on saturate and desaturate. And now I'm sort of set up with most of my layers. There are some shortcuts that I showed in a different video where you can use the spot healing brush instead of the regular healing and cloning, which is very good. But we don't need to do much actual retouching in this video. I'm just going to show the different eye helpers. So if we start from the bottom, we have our repair. And if you activate the regular one, you can see this one's called Skin Help. And it really boosts all the flaws in the skin. Like, you need to turn this on and off though, because certain things are part of who the model is, depending on what type of retouch you do. But if it's temporary flaws, like for example, this is some kind of pimple or similar, it's not part of who she is. And so when I turn this on, you look, this is very, very visible. So then I can use my healing, and there's presets here. So I'm just gonna use them. I have a few keyboard shortcuts to make size bigger and such, and I press a lot of buttons. So I will teach this in more of a shortcut type of video later on instead, I think. So, but I know for sure I want to heal this, and J for healing is the or after you selected this. Then you sample an area that's good and paint over it. You don't have to be very super careful in this type of image, because it's not a beauty image and no one's gonna see what we see right now. So literally all I'm doing is sample and painting where I know there is temporary skin flaws. I'm doing it with a quite big brush as well, so yeah, well, I'm not gonna do a full retouch of this image. I just want to show this help layer and how it really accentuates certain things you should be healing or cloning. So that mark right there is probably part of who she is. So yeah, so I would never, or never, I shouldn't say never, but this is not something you should remove in my opinion. So that's why you should toggle this on and off, and then you see so like this. And I'm not too worried about when I'm doing my healing, I'm not too worried about luminosity. I only care about texture. So I want to sample texture from a similar area. This is part of her, I know this. So then we turn the help layer off. We've done some stuff and it's not that visible, maybe here in the forehead. And it was a quick thing only. Either way, there's lots more that needs to be done to this image, even as a type of fashion portrait. But that's something I really like to use for skin. There's one that's in the eye helper. There's also the solar. And these two combined is a really, really crazy effect. Like it super accentuates things. Such as my sensor that was not super clean. It's my mistake. Sometimes when you bring your cameras out into the wild, they do get a little bit dirty. So, but this is super easy to fix. And again, so let me just show the eye help again. If I turn this off, there's literally no way you could spot this. Well, maybe if you have a monitor with high contrast, and maybe on the video because it adds a lot of contrast. But and not even here, but if you turn off, you can play with which ones you want on here. You can these help layers are really good for like cleaning up dirty white backdrops and stuff like that as well, because there's literally no backdrop in the world that's white that doesn't get dirty. Yeah, I don't know, I'm not gonna sit here. I get carried away and I just almost start to meditate when I do some retouching sometimes, so it's hard to stop. But I'm gonna just stop there because the purpose was to show the eye helpers for the healing. And also not healing. I keep saying healing, but when I say healing, it's the same as repair and cloning. So let's move on now. After we did this, we want to move into dodge and burn. So maybe a big brush. So with the workflow dodge and burn folders, which is really, really awesome, if I may say so myself, and I can. But you don't have to agree. This is the best dodge and burn technique that's available right now. Something that I invented not too long ago, and there's a different video about it where I actually show how you can do it. My purpose was to try and simulate exposure and how exposure handles colors when you do brightness changes or luminosity changes. And the colors consists of saturation and hue. And then you have also, to add a little bit more complexity to it, there's different color models. So even inside of Photoshop, we have many different color models, and like you have to almost learn these because they behave differently. But that's a different video. So dodge and burn eye helpers is by default just to turn off the color, and it does it by showing you the true luminosity. And the true luminosity is important if your workflow consists of using layers that has blend mode, color, saturation, or hue, because the luminosity way of looking at an image is not that all channels are equal, or it's a certain mix, and you can get it with this type of help layer. I also quite often do, when it's to do with highlights, I often turn on negative because it's difficult for the eye to see highlights, and I still want them to have a nice gradient. So turning on negative, quite good. Sometimes there's also certain areas that doesn't have too much contrast, so then you can turn on contrast as well. And this you can also adjust a little bit depending on where the skin is in your image. I'm gonna put this negative effect at least. I want something like this maybe. Never mind the settings. This is just me, my way of doing it. And then with a regular brush, I just start to work. Now when I'm in negative mode, the darker areas, you have to think opposite. So now I'm burning. I'm just gonna take care of this highlight here a little bit. I will go quite fast now because I don't wanna, this video is gonna be too long anyway. So just really quickly, a tip also is to try and stay as zoomed out as you possibly can. And you see me rotating a lot. That's just pressing R, and that's because I want a natural angle of, I messed up, but whatever. I want a natural angle when I draw, because certain angles are easier. They just switch back and forth. Okay. This area here would require a little bit more work. Not gonna worry too much about it right now. And dodge and burn might be like, the thing is, it's something that you can probably talk about for a week. So I'm not gonna do much of it here. I'm gonna do a little bit though, because I want you to see how useful these help layers are. It's too strong. If you do like me now and you do too strong, you can press X and then you paint away a little bit with black tip for you. Anyway, take away negative, and now we want to dodge a little bit as well, just real quickly, not too much. And it's actually too strong, so I turn down the opacity. I often find that sometimes in certain areas, especially when you boost contrast, even the 1% flow is too low. But what you can do is, because you have these handy buttons here, if you want to dodge a new dodge, I could do like this, and I say that this is gonna be 30% dodge, and I have another layer here. Let's rename it dodge 30%, just so we know. And oops, now let's go in here a little bit again. So this is really fine details now, because we have the boosted contrast. And when you do the way I did it with the boosted contrast, it's sort of not, you have to be a little bit careful as well, because it's not an actual representation. Then sometimes you need to go back out of it and just do the retouch. This, and I'm not gonna get stuck with this. This also would need more work, same as the chin here. I just have a little bit of trouble stopping, and maybe it will help some of you to see what I actually do. Anyway, let's just pretend it's good. The video is about eye helpers, not me retouching. So before and after dodge and burn. So requires more work and some color corrections, because I did quite heavy changes in certain areas, but there was very strong highlights. I wanted to tone down a little bit, and yeah, I did it too heavy as well. But the purpose again was to show the eye helpers. I'll do a real retouch some other time. I'm actually gonna take this back just a little bit. So, and then for selective saturation, which is a way to work with saturation the same way you do with dodge and burn, there's also an eye helper, and it looks like this. It shows the saturation. So you have to flip this on and off though, because areas that are supposed to be very bright aren't supposed to have saturation, and it's only when there are even don't know exactly how to explain it, because it is quite advanced way of thinking about it, but the help layer here will help you see saturation issues. So for example, I know now that where I dodged and burn, where it's dark, it's desaturated. So I know then, for example, that this area here around the eye would need a little bit more saturation. And all I do is I paint the same way as I do with dodge and burn. And if I have this on, I will see more what I'm doing. I'm going really slow here. Even this smudged makeup needs a little bit of saturation. And here I know I dodged and burn a little bit. And a little bit here as well. Yeah. Either way, mask. So probably won't tell the difference before and after. There's a little bit of difference. You look here under the eye. I did it a little bit too strong, but it's very desaturated here. So when I turn the saturation back on, I fixed a little bit of saturation. There's still a hue issue here though. That's a different thing. And then I'm gonna jump into the main iHelp layers, which are good for everything. These are just specific ones for the different parts of the more guided workflow. And we'll just go through them. So to see saturation in an image, this is the saturation. And down here again, if I go back, by the way, I could see the same layer if I wanted to. Makes it easy to see what's actually skin and what's makeup and stuff like that. But the luminosity will help you not get tricked by the colors, because the eyes can get tricked that certain colors are brighter. So for example, I don't know. No, there's no good example in this image. But then there's saturation. There's a luminosity one, same as that we had in a lot of the other ones. There's one to see the hue, and this is basically just boosting saturation to the max. So this layer here, you can turn down a little bit and then see how strong of an effect it is. A good tip. So for example, there's definitely green hues in the white here that I might want to take care of. And then look at different parts of makeup. The eyes has a red hue. And I want to, if I do a natural retouch at least, which is mostly everything I do, I want to keep the hues of the eyes when I do my retouching. Or I don't want to desaturate to try and get rid of the red, because I think that looks ugly. So what I will do instead is I will make sure it has the hue that I want. So there's almost always some part of the eye that has but this, now we're getting into more advanced stuff. Now we'll also mostly use curves. Anyway, hue, very helpful. Not always at 100%, but if you turn it down a little bit, then you can spot stuff like here in the eye, some weird hues going on that I might not want, or at least turn down a little bit more towards blue, maybe. So color, really difficult one, because now there's no luminosity in this image. This is what the color looks like on a gray layer though. But also useful. Can use it in combination with certain things, like the hues. So that would boost the saturation, and now you don't see any luminosity. You could add contrast, and you can add a solar curve. I'll go through this soon. Color I don't use that much, but sometimes it's a nice thing to have. So this image didn't have that much colors. This type of help layer will have more of an impact on other images that uses more color. Okay. Negative. just to be able to spot flaws. Also can be used in combination with different things, like the color or saturation. You have to play with this yourselves. Contrast can be used in combination with pretty much all of these. So if you want to see the luminosity and boost the luminosity, just add contrast. There's a solar curve, which is this crazy one, creates this crazy effect, but it's really, really good when you're doing certain stuff, especially like if you want to do good cloning of hair and hair against backgrounds. And it's very easy to leave behind what looks like almost like a snail crawled over your screen or the image. But if you then do your cloning with the solar curve active, you will immediately spot if it does a strange thing. So this hair here, and when you get closer to, I'm not gonna do that now. This video is already way too long, and I want to keep these videos short. Sorry, but help players is quite a big topic. Threshold is just a way to see where are the highlights. So what you do is you open this and you see that the most bright part of this image is over here, and that's probably not what you want if you want to create some kind of balance in the image. And then you can go like this if you want to see what's the brightest part of the skin, and it's here. So it would be around these areas. You then flip this off. You can see this is the brightest skin. Might not have been super easy to detect. If you also in some images you need to turn on luminosity, but on this one it was fine. Yes, same at the opposite. If you want to know where the darkest parts of your image are, and here they start to pop up, and I want to know where the darkest parts of my skin are now, then I continue, and I think around here somewhere. Inside the nose is usually not very good colors, so I don't use it, but next to the hair here, now definitely this area. So if I turn this off, this is the darkest skin area that I have. Useful for when you're creating gradient maps and such. Okay, I think that will be all for this one. Thank you for sticking with me for this long. Eye helpers are really useful. The rotate trick is good. Press escape to reset it again, and just go back to whatever tool you had. All right, catch you soon, guys. Thank you.